Well, the great news just keeps rolling in for the Philadelphia 76ers, and I'm sure that is music to plenty of Sixers fans' ears as we got some really great signs from the Sixers' final preseason game against the Minnesota Timberwolves last Friday. We'll dive in to some of my takeaways from that game, as well as some positive injury news from the last couple of days of practice for the 76ers, and the team also making some of their final roster cuts and roster moves ahead of their NBA season opener on Wednesday against the Boston Celtics. So plenty to dive into here on today's show. But speaking of that game, Sixers, Celtics, Wednesday night, we will be live here on 76ers Now for that game. Play-by-play, live analysis, instant reaction, hanging out with the people as we all watch the season opener together. So be sure to hit that sub button and join us on Wednesday night. That game is at 7:30 Eastern PM. We'll be live about 30 minutes beforehand with our pregame show. So hit that sub button and turn on your notifications. That way you are notified when we do go live. All right, let's start with some of the great news that we saw from the Sixers' last preseason game against the Timberwolves. What a return it was to the floor for Joel Embiid. He looked truly dominant in his short stint in his preseason debut for the Sixers against Minnesota. And what was his first real NBA action in quite a long time? And he really looked as good as he ever has. Only played 19 minutes, much of that coming in the first half. 14 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, 5 of 10 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3. And probably most important was moving well, running up and down the floor, didn't even have a big brace on his knee, looked really slim and in really, really good shape. It's very exciting. This is honestly the best Embiid has looked in a very long time. And he talked after the game about his return and the battles he's had, especially mentally, over the past couple of seasons. I don't really want to think about the past, Embiid said. I'm in a good space right now, mentally, physically. First of all, I'm just happy to touch a basketball, to be able to play basketball, do what I love. When you don't get that, it's tough, and he hasn't had that a lot over the past couple of seasons. I don't think Embiid really ever looked this good last year. Even when he tried to play, he was out there, somewhat healthy, playing for the Sixers. He clearly was never even close to 100%, never looked as good as he does right now and as he did in that preseason game. Now, of course, it is preseason, and it was against a lot of the Timberwolves' backups and reserves, but again, I'm not so concerned with the numbers he put up as I am with how he looked running up and down the floor and attacking rebounds, which, he wasn't doing all the time, but here and there, just moving well, looked comfortable, looked confident. Just glad to see him back out there and looking the way that he did. So that is great news as we head into the season opener. Same can be said for VJ Edgecombe. And what a start it has been to his NBA career, especially once this preseason did kick off for Philadelphia. He's been so impressive really all summer long and all preseason long, but especially in that Friday matchup against Minnesota. He started that game, and he was really given the leash in that game to just go out there, do what he can do in 34 minutes, and man, he really did show out in a variety of ways. 26 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 10 of 18 from the floor, and 2 of 6 from 3. I'm very excited about VJ Edgecombe. I've always been a fan, right? And that being the 3rd overall pick comes with a lot of expectations, but I think he's already ahead of schedule in a sense. Of course, hasn't played a single real NBA game, but man, he looks so comfortable out there, right? Just the IQ of the game, playing off the ball, making smart cuts, playing within the flow of the offense, and playing off some of these other stars on this team. He just looks like a vet, honestly, at this point. Does he have areas to improve in? Absolutely. Finishing at the basket. He can get drove by a little bit too much playing on-ball defense that I'd like to see, but he didn't miss a free throw in the preseason, a perfect 12 of 12. I love what I've seen. The three-point shot still has to get down, but the athleticism is 100% there, way ahead of schedule, and should start for this team on opening night. I'm just so excited to see VJ play as we get into this season. And VJ is part of this guard rotation, man. Very, very exciting, right? We finally get to see Quentin Grimes back out there the past couple of games after his contract saga this offseason. And some Sixers fans have been concerned about just how many guards are on this team and how guard heavy it is. But man, against Minnesota, you saw it in full force. Maxey, 27, 7, 4, 2 steals, shot it well. We went through VJ's numbers, but he also had 5 steals in that game. And then Quentin Grimes looked fantastic. 22 points, 5 assists, 3 steals, 7 of 13 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3, and taking a lot, again, of those off-dribble shots, attacking the basket, creating his own space like he did at the end of last season. So with all these guards, and of course, this isn't even factoring in Jared McCain, who of course is going to miss the start of the regular season with that thumb injury. This can be a really, really dynamic offense with all these guys that can create for themselves, create a little bit for others, score from really all 3 levels of the floor, as all of them can. Of course, VJ's 3-point shot, as I noted, he took a lot, and the form looks much improved from college. They had to start falling. But man, you can have a really dynamic offense when you have all these guards out there, either 2 of them or all 3 of them, and have them all able to create offense for you. Now, in that final preseason game against Minnesota, we got a glimpse at what maybe could be the potential starting 5, at least on opening night, maybe not the entire season, and could be matchup dependent. But the Sixers went with a double big starting lineup. Maxey and VJ at the 1 and the 2, Kelly Oubre at the 3, then Adem Bona playing that 4 spot, of course. No Jared McCain yet, no Paul George in this one either, no Trendon Watford. But Nick Nurse rolling with Adem Bona in that starting lineup with Embiid, the double big lineup. Will we see that? I think there's a real chance that we see this starting 5 against the Celtics on opening night. Gives you that rebounding edge, gives you a little bit more size. The Sixers have struggled with the past couple of seasons, so I'm interested to see if Nick Nurse does roll this out on Wednesday. Speaking of that game, opening night, of course, a rivalry here, though the Celtics have kind of owned the Sixers as of late. Who do you got? Boston's dealing with some injuries on their own front as well. We'll get to some injury talk here in just a moment. Sixers or Celtics, type PHI for Philadelphia, BOS for the Boston Celtics. Let me know who you got down below in the comment section. So, still to come on the show, we already went through the great signs we got from the last preseason game. Still to come, some injury news ahead of that opener versus Boston for both teams, and the Sixers making some final roster moves. Before we get to that, though, I want to give a big shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is DraftKings. All your favorite NBA players are back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is the place to bet on NBA stars this season. New customers, bet just $5 and get 3 months of NBA League Pass, plus score $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code SixersChat. That's code SixersChat. Bet $5 and get 3 months of League Pass, plus get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. NBA League Pass auto renews until canceled. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. And here are my picks for Sixers Celtics on Wednesday opening night. I'm taking the Sixers, man. Give me the money line for Philadelphia to upset Boston in this one. And then I'm taking Tyrese Maxey, 25 plus points, and Joel Embiid, 5 plus assists. You parlay that together, gives you plus 465 odds. So if you place a $100 bet and that hits, you get $465 back. Of course, all odds and lines are subject to change. Big shout out to DraftKings for sponsoring today's show. All right, let's get to some of the injury news from the past couple of days, Sunday and Monday's practice as I record this here on Monday, October 20th. Kyle Neubeck with some of the details. So this is from Sunday. Embiid and Paul George, very notable for Paul George here, both full participants at practice on Sunday. Trendon Watford, dealing with a hamstring injury, was a partial participant. No status updates for Wednesday's game. Big for Paul George, that was his first full participation in a practice since that knee injury. Now, we'll see if he plays. More on that in a second, but obviously very, very important for him and Embiid, of course, as he continues and coming off that first real action on Friday to log that full practice. And then today, on the 20th, Neubeck tweeting out that everybody participated in practice today, except for Jared McCain, obviously, still out with the thumb injury. he'll be out for a couple weeks. But even, Watford got back in the mix a little bit here, and Paul George once again participating in practice. Let's talk a little more about PG. Obviously, a good sign that he did participate in full on Sunday in practice. Now, I still do not expect him to play on Wednesday, but the Sixers, after they play Wednesday, have 2 off days, don't play again until the Hornets on Saturday. So I think he could return as soon as that October 25th game against the Charlotte Hornets. If not 100%, I think should be back for this game against the Magic. Obviously, going to see how he keeps responding to these full practices and playing more 5-on-5. I think he's at a point now where the health is probably in a good spot, but they just want to see him and how his body and that knee responds to full court 5-on-5 basketball. So again, don't expect him for this first game here, but he should be good to go for the Hornets game on Saturday. Trendon Watford, we'll see. I imagine he'll be out at least a week or two to start the season, dealing with the hamstring injury. That's a tough one to manage. It can flare up at any moment. On the Celtics side of things, we talked last week about a potential game-changing injury for the Celtics. That was Jaylen Brown, who had injured his hamstring in a preseason game against the Raptors last Wednesday. We talked about that injury on Thursday. His status was really up in the air, and Jaylen Brown's status is still undecided for this game on Wednesday, but he was a full participant in practice today for the Celtics. He was asked about the injury, said, I'm just kind of taking it day by day. Right now, I feel good. If he feels the same way he does now, he should play Wednesday. So for the Celtics, their opening night lineup could look as such. Of course, no Jason Tatum, as he is dealing and in rehab with the Achilles injury that he had in the offseason. And they, of course, traded away Drew Holiday. Kristaps Porzingis no longer there. So a lineup of Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and then Chris Boucher and Nehemias Queta running the 4 and the 5. I think this is a lineup that the Sixers, even without Paul George, with the way they're looking right now, this is a game that I think the Sixers can absolutely win, even if Jaylen Brown does play, which is not 100% of a guarantee. So that's the latest on the injury front a couple days ahead of this game. I'm sure we'll get some more injury news tomorrow on Tuesday and probably Wednesday morning as well. Let's round out with some of the roster moves the Sixers have made. Rosters had to be finalized by 5 p.m. Eastern today, so we are officially past that mark. So the Sixers roster is finalized. They have requested waivers on the following players: Marjon Beauchamp, Kennedy Chandler, Malcolm Hill, and St. Thomas. All 4 players expected to join the Sixers G League team in Delaware with the Blue Coats. Was expected for all these guys. Not a surprise that all these guys did end up getting waived, going to the G League. Marjon Beauchamp is notable, of course, because the Sixers released Emoni Bates to bring Beauchamp in from our first-round pick. We'll see if he can impress down there with the Blue Coats. So the Sixers roster finalized, and it looks as such. Don't put too much stock into where I put the players. Paul George starting at the 3. Obviously, he's missing the first game. This is just a look at the roster as a whole. Maxey, VJ, Paul George, Oubre, and Embiid. Your other guards: McCain, Kyle Lowry, Quentin Grimes, and Eric Gordon. On the wings, behind PG and Oubre, Justin Edwards, who struggled a little bit in the preseason. Janai Broome going to play some 4-5 hybrid. Trendon Watford, again, I really want to see him out there on the floor. Hopefully he comes back soon from that hamstring. And then behind Embiid, you got Bona, you got Drummond. 14 players on roster. You can have up to 15, but we know Daryl Morey and the Sixers like to keep a spot open as they get into the regular season. And that's mainly because I think one of these top 2 two-way players, of course, you can hold up to 3 two-way players at a time on your roster. I think either Dominic Barlow or Jabari Walker are going to earn a standard NBA contract sooner rather than later. Of course, Hunter Salas also landing that final two-way spot. Saw some people say maybe let Hunter Salas go. Bring in, at first it was Emoni Bates, then maybe Beauchamp in that last two-way spot, but Salas does hold on to it. I think Barlow, a really strong candidate to earn that last roster spot. He is really impressed in the preseason, being that taller, lankier, more athletic 4-5 hybrid who can hit the glass for the Sixers and be that energy guy. Same with Walker. Jabari Walker's done a great job of just doing the dirty work, right? The little things, grabbing an offensive rebound here, tipping a loose ball here that you need to win games. So I love what both of them can bring. But I think Barlow in the lead right now for that last roster spot. Sixers do have some time, though, before they have to make an official decision on that. All right, that'll do it for today's show. Appreciate you all hopping in here and hanging out with me. Just 2 days until we see the Sixers take the floor. It is so exciting. I can't believe we're already back. If you're excited, hit that sub button and, of course, join us for that watch party on Wednesday night.